The floors of the grand skylight towers in downtown Manhattan sparkled every morning, but no one ever stopped to think about the hands that scrubbed them. Except for Amal. She moved silently, her modest uniform slightly oversized, hair always tucked neatly under her scarf. Most days, she was invisible, just another janitor blending into the backdrop of the corporate chaos. But behind her quiet demeanor and calloused hands was a world of struggle, sacrifice, and silent strength. Amal's day began at 4 a.m. when the world still slept. She'd kiss the foreheads of her sleeping children, Layan and Sammy, and sneak out of the tiny apartment they shared in the Bronx. The rent was overdue, and the heat barely worked. But she never let her children feel the weight of it. They still believed that the world was kind. That hope was real. And she wanted to keep it that way. Skylight Towers was home to some of the most powerful business moguls in America. Every polished marble tile, every glistening window, was a stage for wealth and ambition. Amal kept her head down, cleaning conference rooms and executive offices, never daring to speak unless spoken to. But everything changed on a cold Tuesday morning. As she was wiping down the table in one of the larger executive boardrooms, her old phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced at the screen. A call from Syria. Her heart dropped. Calls from home were rare, and usually not good. She hesitated, glanced around the empty room, and answered it in a whisper. Aina lillahi wa aina ilayhi raji'un, the voice on the other end said softly. Her knees buckled. Her uncle, the only family left helping her sister, had passed away in a bombing. He had been taking care of Amal's younger sister and her 3 children. And now, there was no one left. Amal choked back sobs as she spoke in Arabic, unaware that someone had just entered the room. It was Alexander Grant, CEO of a tech empire worth billions. He had returned to retrieve a forgotten notebook and stopped in his tracks when he saw her, crouched in a corner of the boardroom, speaking rapidly in Arabic, tears falling freely down her cheeks. He didn't understand the words, but pain was universal. When she finally noticed him, she shot up in alarm, wiping her tears with the back of her sleeve, whispering apologies. I'm so sorry, sir. I'll clean another time. But he didn't respond immediately. Instead, he asked gently, Are you okay? She froze, unsure if it was a trap. No one in these towers ever asked her that. I'm sorry. Just a personal call. I'll go now. He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, he saw not just a janitor, but a human being on the edge of breaking. What's your name? He asked. Amal, she said, eyes cast downward. Amal, he repeated slowly, nodding. Take your time. He left without another word. She thought that was the end of it. But it was only the beginning. The next day, Amal expected trouble. A warning. Maybe even termination. Instead, she arrived to find that her supervisor had changed her schedule. She'd been moved from cleaning toilets and hallways to the executive suite, where work was lighter and the hours more flexible. Confused, she complied. But the surprises kept coming. Later that week, she was called to the HR office. You've been selected for a special employee support initiative, they said. A fancy way of explaining that someone, anonymously, had paid off 3 months of her rent and had placed $10,000 in a college fund for her children. She almost fainted. Who would do such a thing? She thought about Mr. Grant but dismissed the idea. Why would a billionaire CEO care about a cleaning lady? Weeks passed. Then one day, she found a letter placed carefully in her locker. It was handwritten, and simply said, Amal. I heard your pain even though I didn't understand your words. Once, long ago, I was the child of a mother who cried in silence. Someone helped us. I never forgot. Please allow me to do the same. Alex. Her hands trembled. Tears spilled freely. The letter smelled faintly of cedar, and hope. Amal was too proud to take more than she needed. She wrote back, leaving a note with HR. Thank you. I can never repay you. But I will try to pass it on. Please don't help me because I am weak. Help me so I can be strong again. The following Monday, Alex invited her for coffee, in the executive lounge. Everyone stared. A cleaning lady in a hijab, sitting across from the CEO. But Alex ignored the whispers. I want to know your story, he said. She hesitated, but something in his eyes made her trust him. So, she told him. About fleeing Syria with her 2 children. About losing her husband in a bombing. About the nights she cried in silence while her kids pretended to sleep. And about the one time, in a refugee camp, a stranger had handed her a loaf of bread and said, "This world still has good people." Alex listened intently, moved. He shared his own story. About growing up poor in Detroit. About how his mother cleaned homes at night while he studied. About the teacher who paid for his college application because she saw something in him. Their pain, though born from different worlds, mirrored each other. Soon after, Amal was offered a position as a community liaison, a new role Alex had created within the company. Her job was to help connect the corporation with underprivileged communities, ensuring voices like hers were heard. She was hesitant at first. She had no formal education beyond high school, no degrees, no confidence. But Alex mentored her personally. "You have more strength than any CEO I've ever met," he said. Over the next year, Amal blossomed. She led initiatives that provided employment training to refugees, started a fund for single mothers, and even gave speeches at global conferences on women's empowerment. Her children watched her transform from a cleaning lady to a beacon of hope, and they never forgot where she came from. One snowy December evening, Amal stood on the rooftop of Skylight Towers, looking out over the glittering city skyline. Beside her stood Alex. "Do you ever think about that day?" he asked. "All the time," she said. "That call changed everything." "It wasn't the call," he said gently. "It was your strength, the way you stood back up." She smiled, eyes shining with tears. Sometimes, all it takes is one person to listen, to truly see you. 2 years later, Amal was featured on the cover of a major magazine with the headline, "From Janitor to Changemaker." Her story inspired millions. But she always told people, it wasn't a fairy tale. It was a chain reaction. One act of kindness. One chance. And the courage to rise. And across the world, in refugee camps and struggling neighborhoods, women whispered her name with pride. Because they knew, Amal was one of them. And she hadn't just survived. She had transformed.